Hi there, Practice ICAO English Group. Today we are going to be talking to Sunnee Mesut, who's going to be joining us shortly. So I just want to check that you're all having a great week and that you're studying hard at improving your aviation English, as I'm sure you are.
Yes, good day, miss. How are you doing? This is Sunnee. Yeah.
Hi, Sunnee. Do you have your camera connected so we can see you?
Yeah, just hold on. Let me hook this up. This is something new for me, so I'm just trying to get acclimatized with the. Where do I have the camera here?
We can hear you loud and clear, so that's great.
All right. Yeah, I have my camera on. Can you see me?
Perfect. I like it. What's your background there?
Well, it's a few model aircrafts that we've collected over the years, starting from a T6G to an F-16 to a JF-17 and a few others. So the right up there, that's a Mashak MFI Saab supporter aircraft. On my right, my left is the F-86 Sabre. Then we have the MiG-21 or the F-7 as we call it here in Pakistan. We have a T6G up there. Right on my head is an JF-17. So we have a few collections, yeah.
Wow, that's great. So can you please tell us a little bit about yourself before I start asking you some questions?
Yes, absolutely. Considering my background, started off back in 1999 when I went to the PF Academy, Rishalpur, became a cadet. Aviation has been more in my blood than anything else because my father himself, he's from the Air Force. So I've been there, done that for a few years before as well. But rest assured, practical flying bit started off back in 2001. Graduated 2003 from the academy, got my wings, flew T-38s back in Moody and Valdosta, Georgia. This is 2004. Came back Pakistan, flew Mirages till 2013. Yep.
And what are you doing now exactly? Because I've seen you in some training courses that you've shared with me.
I'm talking more to mid-level professionals in aviation. As a matter of fact, on 28th of September, 2019, that is a few days from now, about 10 days, I'm conducting a workshop by the name of Automated Flight Deck Management.
That's the one. On the page. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks a lot for the marketing bit, but I certainly believe that we have a long way to go in understanding the concepts of automation, because the one thing that is going to be here for a while now is automation overall. How do we use it to our benefit? One, but more importantly, if we don't understand the paradigms of automation, then it can be a huge hindrance in performance.
So today you're going to talk to us about the responsibilities of a commander. Yeah. So can you tell us about the qualities that are important for a commander?
Oh, first and foremost, the commander overall has to have complete attention of the group that he is commanding. That's the first and foremost thing. Because communication, as we call it, it's a two-way process. If we are able to communicate more effectively between the listener, in this case, the people who are following the commander and the commander himself, then there's this respect that starts to build up. So that's the initial process. But what we really need to understand and comprehend that commander is more in relation to the position or the rank that is given by the organization. Mm-hmm. That is the understanding of being a commander. There's something known as a CLN matrix. That's a bit far-fetched for our discussion today. Yeah. But commander is with regard to position and rank, which is given by the organization.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So today we're going to talk more about the communication side of being a commander. So
True. True.
communication is two-way, and you mentioned that commander is given that position by the company, so it's hierarchical. So the commander
the
is
organization, the company. That's true.
Yeah. So how can you ensure that the commander is able to communicate with the people beneath him effectively?
Yes. Communication is, once again, as we've mentioned, a two-way thing. The important aspect is, for example, the language that is being used. The commander needs to have extreme understanding that the language that is understood, comprehended by the group of individuals that he is commanding is at the same level, same frequency, same wavelength. The verbiage, the words, the sentences that are used. If, for example, I'm in United States, and instead of speaking English, I am put in a command position or a commanding position by the organization, and I start communicating in some of their vernaculars. That will not hold valid. The understanding is one. We need to be on the same frequency, wavelength, language. So that is the first and foremost thing. But beyond this, what we really need to have understanding on is the medium that is being used. Sometimes there is a gap in between. For example, if we're communicating online, let's take it this way. If we're communicating on this mobile thing, and suddenly the voice goes away, so the medium dies down. My message or the communication which I'm sending across is valid. You're willing to listen on the other end, but if the medium is not there, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
So a commander, as per definition, if we talk of communication, is all about being seen and being heard. Mm-hmm. So two things. He needs to be visible to the followers, one, and he needs to be heard. So communication, visibility, both go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about listening skills as well, because in commercial aviation, for example, and I guess we're talking about more CRM here, in a difficult situation, in an unusual turn of events, the first officer may need to speak up to the captain, right?
Absolutely.
To
Absolutely.
highlight a problem. So how does the commander ensure that the first officer feels comfortable to do that?
There is absolutely one thing with regard to CRM and communication. This is something known as the authority gradient in a cockpit. Yeah. If the first officer, being relatively ill-experienced, on the other hand, the captain being a 20,000 hours type of a guy, so the onus of responsibility is mostly with the captain, that the authority gradient is left relatively level. Instead of being more vertical, it's more lateral. We're able to communicate on the same frequency, especially if we talk of a multicultural organizations like Emirates, Etihad, like Qatar Airways, Turkish Airlines. They have a hugely multicultural thing going. So onus of responsibility with the captain of the aircraft, but something that needs to be understood by the first officer as well, that communication between these two individuals has to be once again based upon trust. That is one, but more importantly, there is another other phrase that is used known as assertive communication. So the first officer, this type of communication, the language that he uses, needs to be a gradual build-up. He doesn't have to start off at the very onset and say all hell breaks loose. It needs to be a gradual build-up. So that is how it is.
Mm-hmm. Can you give an example of a gradual build-up so that the people watching this can really understand what you mean?
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, if there is a hazard that is being developed, may it be inside or outside the cockpit of a multi-crew aircraft, then the first officer, obviously, first of all, has to go ahead and tell the captain that there is something wrong that is coming up. So he needs to forewarn, build up slowly but surely. For example, there is another aircraft which he is looking at maybe about 10, not 10, about 5 miles out, a beautiful blue sky. If he's able to see that and the captain is not noticing, so he needs to tell him that I can see this aircraft at 11 o'clock, about 5 miles. If the captain is still not able to look at it, then he needs to push it up or push up the ante a little bit. He needs to forewarn him, sir, I believe this is getting closer, and it's on the same altitude. That is another way. But more often than not, the reality is a bit different because perception of aircraft from distances can be ill perceived of being at the same altitude. But rest assured, the situation has to be clear. So this is the second step. So first step, he says that I can see this aircraft. Second step, he pushes it up a little bit, says, sir, I think it's getting close. So you have to be watchful. At the point in time, once it is getting hazardous or dangerous to the extent that it may grow into a mid-air collision, then the first officer has to be very, very proactive. He has to be either telling the captain that, sir, this is what is happening, or captain, this, I believe we are going to hit this aircraft. And worst case scenario, last but not least, he can take over the control and say, I have the controls, and he takes the aircraft away, evades the aircraft. Mm-hmm. But this is just a hypothetical situation. But a lot of other things can be built up in the same way. So assertive communication has to be built up from a gradual information base, then maybe a minor warning, a major warning, and in the end, go ahead and tell him that, okay, I have the controls, maybe we've had enough. This is probably going to be a mid-air, so I'm going to save you, myself, the cabin crew, and all the passengers on board. But this is, once again, hypothetical.
Mm-hmm. And when you were flying, Sunnee, did you have any challenging experiences that you had to overcome?
Overall, communication has always been a challenging point because, especially in aviation, there are so many biases and so many different opinions of people with so many different backgrounds that we need to have. We need to ensure that we bring everyone at par on the same frequency. In all types of aviation, may it be commercial or military, there is something known as a brief that takes place. Mm-hmm. That specific brief, one of the reasons of that specific brief is that we're able to bring everyone on the same wavelength, same frequency. We're able to understand that once I say something, use a specific phrase or specific words, this is what I mean. I'll take you back to this movie, and I believe everybody's seen this. Sully, Captain Sullenberger, Miracle on the Hudson, Cactus 1549. A few words that were mentioned by the captain just before impact, Tom Hanks in reality, were braced for impact. Everyone, the cabin crew, the first officer, the passengers on board, everyone was on sync at that time. Yeah. So everyone was taking their correct actions. This was only because the correct language, frequency, communication was utilized and in the best of experiences. So, and to be very candid, it is the only successful water landing that taken place anytime past 1903 once the Wright brothers took to the air.
Yeah, and it was all down to clear and concise communication, as you said.
Absolutely, absolutely. I would like to add one phrase to this: clear, concise communication. Once I was in the Air Force and we were flying T-38s out of Moody, Valdosta, Georgia. There was one desired learning objective for every mission. It was C3 COM. C3 stood for clear, concise, correct communication
Yes, yes,
every time.
yeah.
So it's of that much importance in both the military and the commercial flying, that communication has to be loud and clear.
Yeah. So, we have clear, concise, correct communication, as you said, which is radio telephony language that all pilots and controllers learn. But there are certain situations when radio telephony does not apply, in unusual situations. So what advice would you give our members when situations arise when we don't have that phraseology to fall back on?
Yes, first and foremost, the language of the English, as per ICAO English level 4, is a prereq before you go into commercial aviation. You cannot get the license without that. So that's a prereq. For most of the people or aviators around the globe, English has been there for a while, may it be in the form of songs or movies or subtitles, whatever. But aviation English is very specific. It needs to have specific phraseology, specific verbiage, specific words which would mean specific actions that need to be taken. Both in the military and commercial, especially for the new guys who are coming into aviation, they need to practice. And remember, practice does not make perfect. Practice makes permanent. So, correct practice has to be done.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. Absolutely. So English overall, if we do not practice correct aviation English, and I would pay kudos to you and your Facebook page and the efforts that you're putting in, making people understand of this one fact. If especially in high threat, high risk environments where there is an emergency going on, there is something that's going beyond the normal in the aircraft, more often than not, the individuals or the pilots, captains, first officers, crew members, they revert back to their mother tongue or their vernacular language, which is only understood by that one specific person.
Yeah.
The communication barrier completely opens up, is very much there at that point in time. So what we really need to do, first and foremost, we really have to practice the correct English. May it be speaking with a course mate, may it be a class fellow, may it be your wife or girlfriend, whatever you want to do, speak correct aviation English. Read back portfolios, practice that performance. For example, anytime you give a call for taxi, you're going to get back a lot of information. Pen it down, practice that, how to put it down on paper and reproduce that. Everyone has his own way of doing it, but there are more efficient ways of because people who are more experienced can guide you of how to putting it down on a shorthand and not writing down each and every word. So reproducing that in a read back format is one way of practicing it. There's one last thing that I would like to add here. No two aviation situations in the world, in the whole of my flying career, have been the same. No two landings, no two takeoffs, no two approaches, ILSs to the same airfield, different airfields, weather phenomena. It has all been different. So there is nothing constant in life and aviation but change. So we need to understand change is something that we need to cater for. So for that, we need to be prepared with correct English, correct verbiology, correct phrases.
Yeah. And something I want to add is I'm trying my best to get people speaking. So I just want people to know that this is a safe place to communicate. And the only way that people are going to improve their communication skills, which is both listening and speaking, is to communicate with one another. And like you said, you know, no flight is the same. And, you know, pilots and controllers are going to be speaking with pilots and controllers from all over the world with different accents, with different cultural backgrounds. And the only way to improve their communication with these people is to practice speaking with different cultures, listening to different accents, and beginning to understand people. So I think you would agree with that, Sunnee.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. You're correct. I absolutely agree.
Yeah. So thank you very much for your time today. What I can do, Sunnee, is I can add your contact details at the end of the video if anybody wants to contact you for specific information. And I'll ask people to put their comments below so that they can ask you questions and you can respond there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be more than willing to answer questions on the topic today or anything beyond that, even in aviation. But we would obviously, there are glitches in every system. We would love to, you know, do it at a 1v1 situation where we're able to interact directly with the group. And communication is once again a huge player. It can be a huge enabler. It can be a huge inhibitor of performance, human performance in aviation.
Yeah.
So that is how it is.
Yeah. I think maybe next time we'll schedule a meeting and invite people to join, and then we can communicate.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Thanks, Sunnee.
Pleasure having a word. You have a good day and be safe.
Yeah. Enjoy the rest of your day too. Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye.